Developing musicianship online.
Hello and welcome to DM Online. Today we're going to look at the EQ process in the Logic Pro environment and have a look at some of the tools available to us to do it well. So let's get into it. So there are some great tools for EQing in the Pro Tools environment. One of the niceties is this little graph that comes up at the top of the channel, so you can actually see what's being EQ'd and not EQ'd. And as you can see from this, my vocals are flat. The drum kit, because it's come through like a preset that the computer creates, they've actually created some EQ. The bass was coming through an amp, so that's also got some EQ on it. Everything else is flat. But to get your mix to actually fit together, you need to be quite conscious of what's going on in your EQ. So if you go to your master channel EQ, it's got the analyzer down the bottom there. And if we switch that on, we're going to get an actual big picture on what's going on with our graphic equalizer in our program.
DM Developing Musicianship Online.
Okay, so what I can see a lot of is the bass end, and really the top end never meets what the bass is actually putting out. We need to be conscious of a few things in our EQing. First of all, we need to know how to get the right sound out of our instrument while providing it space to not compete with other channels. Now, I dealt with this a bit in Garageband, and in Garageband the EQ process is actually basically the same. So if I check out the drum kit, they've got a low shelf, so taking out the low frequencies that are likely to rumble. So let's have a listen to the drum kit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the center signal, because I know everything's going out to our buses anyway. And we're looking really at the final product of the drums. So this is just a flat EQ, and we can give it some adaptation through this. Now, as we are gaining like extra frequencies, we gain volume, so we need to be very careful of our gain stage as well and make sure we don't actually end up with more volume than we started with. The aim is not more volume, the aim is to boost or to drop signals in order to give something present in particular frequency ranges. Okay, so for example, our snare drum, I'm going to create a loop so that we just hear lots of the start on a loop. This is a good way to EQ because you just keep hearing the start. I create a narrow band and I go looking for where's it going to open that sound of the kit up. I'm losing my cymbals, so I want to get a boost for the cymbals, a boost for the snare. So we'll start with a narrow band. And we also want to take frequencies away. So if I So I'm creating separation between cymbals, snare, and kick. I don't really want more kick because I really feel that's sufficient, but if I did want more kick, I would probably need more channels because I'm running my EQ channels out. I'm hearing everything quite clearly. Now I want to compare. So when you compare, you take the channel, take it off, have a look at what the gain is. Okay, and then turn it back on again. Gained a little, so you want to pull this back so you're not picking up volume. Take it off again. Okay, once you've got a mix you're happy with, you just copy and paste it into your left and right channels. And when you turn the left and right channels back, now you've got an EQ for the whole thing. Now, this is one way to EQ. This is not the only way to EQ. And later on, when I've got a drum part that has components, like a kick mic, snare mic, cymbal mic, we would not do it this way. This is simply a method of dealing with a MIDI track that's already got some kind of EQ on it established by the program, and we just want to get that to pop out a little bit in certain places to give the energy that we're looking for in the piece of music. So now I need to add my bass. Again, I'm just going to add the bass EQ in over here and make sure I don't gain anything from the volume side of things. So that's the flat mix. And we've got 18. And if we turn the analyzer on, you can see there's a lot around the 100, 200. So what we want to do is make sure that none of the overtones of the bass are getting in the way of other things. So I'm going to put a massive cut in here. Now I could also try to work on getting it away from the kick drum, but sometimes you lose the guts of the bass if you do this. Okay, so there's lots of loss, and then I'll get a little bit of gain where the sweet spot is. And we do this with everything playing, but I always build ground up. So get the drums sounding about where I want them, then add the bass, and then add the other layers. There are some schools of thought that you shouldn't mix EQs in solidarity, that you should keep combining the ensemble. But I find the drums and the bass are fundamental to the foundation of the sound. Everything else is decoration of that sound. So therefore you get the drums and the bass sounding right together, and then you add your layers to make sure everything's got its space. Because this is a jazz style, I'm not really looking for the bass to sound, I want it to sound closer to an upright, less like an electric. So I'm trying to give it that quality. It's still not going to simulate to the same extent that an upright's going to sound, but I just want it not to be so smashing in the face from a bass perspective. Gained a bit of volume, so I'm going to pull this back a bit. Okay, and then we're going to put the organ in, so we're going to have to go to where the organ is in the mix. Again, I'm going to just mix on one channel, and because I'm doing this all on the bust outputs, I'll go to the center, drop my EQ in, get a flat signal, and then I'm going to look for its magic spot that's going to fit in the mix. Just going to try and open it up. So I'm going to get it out of the way of the bass so that it's got its own spot. So I'm putting low cut in to get a clearer bass and drum so it doesn't get in the way, giving it a little boost to make it cut through all those other sounds. And I put a high cut in to keep it out of the way of the vocals, because that's where the vocal presence is going to be. Plus it's where our cymbals right now are actually popping through, so you don't really want to wipe out the cymbals by putting a whole bunch of organ across the same frequency range. Okay, again, once you've got a mix you're happy with, stick your pans back to where they came from and put it across both channels and listen to it together and make sure you haven't gained too much gain. Okay, and the last thing left is vocals. So here's our vocal track. And we'll work from the center track, get the EQ where we want it, and then we will transfer that to the others. So I'm starting with a flat signal.
DM, developing musicianship online.
And now it's male voice, and male voice is actually right in the middle of all of the bass and instruments and stuff, so it's a little bit of a problem from that perspective. I will still give it a low cut to take it out of the way of the drums a bit, take it out of the way of the cymbals a little bit with a high cut, and then look for that magic spot where I can boost, starting with a fine frequency range and then moving to a wider frequency range.
DM, developing musicianship online. 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 DM, developing musicianship online.
Okay, then I look at the gain stage, and remember we've intentionally gain staged this up a little higher than the other parts. So it should be pulling about
DM,
15.
developing musicianship online.
It's gained a bit too much.
DM, developing musicianship online. DM, developing musician.
Okay, remember, once I put it into the other channels, it's going to gain a lot of volume more, because we've got 3 channels of this as opposed to 2 of most other things. Okay, I unmute my other channels, and now I should have a pretty good balanced EQ, but I can give it a little bit more of a tweak in the masters when we hear the whole thing together. So this is from the start.
DM, developing musicianship online. musicianship online.
Okay. One of the other benefits of this program, which you cannot do in Garageband, is you can't open multiple effects at once like this and have them sitting out together. And as a long-time user of Logic Pro, you really need to have this wide range of things open so you can be comparing things and making sure everything's sitting where it is. So this is why I would definitely be on Logic as opposed to Garageband, just simply for these things. And obviously this mixing desk and the unlimited effects is a major game changer when it comes to your overall production that you're producing. So basically that covers the EQing of your music to get an ensemble sound and to allow things to pop through when you want them to pop through, or to mix in with your mix when you want them to be out of the way. So next time we'll have a look at compression in Logic Audio, which is slightly different from compression in GarageBand because you can very much more visually see what's going on in this program, which you cannot do in GarageBand. So we'll get to that next time. Hope you join me. Thanks for coming today, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
BM Developing Musicianship Online.